Good evening. My name is Mark Taylor. I'm the Dean of the Charles Pickering Honors Institute here at Jones County Junior College. And on behalf of Dr. Jesse Smith, our president, our faculty, our students, and our board of trustees, welcome to the M.P. Bush Fine Arts Auditorium and the final event in our speaker series this spring that brings us to a conversation, What's So Great About God, with Dinesh D'Souza and Christopher Hitchens. Just 2 weeks ago, we hosted Jimmy Morris of the Rookie fame, and earlier in the semester, we hosted Dr. Robert Kayette, Chancellor of the University of Mississippi. So we've had quite a diversity of speakers, and we look forward to what these two gentlemen bring to us this evening. I want to, first of all, thank some people who made this evening possible. First, as an assistant in my office, Bonnie Warren. Many of you reserved tickets through her. I also want to thank my Associate Dean, Gwen McGee. I also want to thank Carol Bergen and Jim Reed of our Phi Theta Kappa Honor Fraternity and all of our honor students who helped us this evening make this possible. I'd like to ask you to do just a couple of things for us, and this may be very, very difficult for those of you who are our college students, and that is please silence your cell phones. We'd love for you just to turn them off. But at the very least, silence them. And we'd love for you to leave them in your pocket or in your purse during this evening's events. Also, we'd like for you to refrain from walking, especially along the center aisle, because we are videoing this tonight, and it will be hopefully by tomorrow at jcjc.tv. Again, that's jcjc.tv. You should find it there. And we would love to see these gentlemen instead of your head as it walks past the camera. I've had the pleasure this day of spending with two men that I had not met prior to today, and it has been a wonderful day, a really interesting day, from picking them up at the airport and having lunch and then having them speak to our honor students this afternoon and then dinner at the President's Home this evening. And one of the things that I found is that they disagree, but they disagree so agreeably. And maybe that will change tonight, I'm not sure. We may be in for some verbal pyrotechnics. But the thing I'd like to ask you to do is to help them agree or disagree agreeably tonight. You may like something that they say. You may dislike something that they say. But play along with us, if you will. I would point out that after the event tonight, books will be on sale in the lobby, and both gentlemen will be there to sign them as well. And I will tell you more about that later on. But right now, I'm going to get out of the way and turn this over to our moderator. His name is Dr. Ronald Bishop. He's been on our faculty for 20 years and taught classes like philosophy, world religion, Old and New Testament, logic, and ethics. And he's newly appointed as the chair of the Humanities Division. And I will turn it over to him now and let him run this show. He'll tell you all about how it's going to go. So help me welcome Dr. Ronald Bishop.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor, and welcome to all of you to Jones County Junior College. Dinesh D'Souza is a native of India who has lived in America for 30 years and now resides in California. His ancestors were Christians converted by Portuguese missionaries. He graduated from Dartmouth in 1983 and served as policy analyst in the Reagan White House. He considers himself a rebel against extreme secularism and claims that Christianity is winning the battle with secularism and that atheism is on its way out. Mr. D'Souza has been called one of the top young policy makers in the country by Investors Business Daily. The New York Times Magazine has called him one of America's most influential conservative thinkers. In 1991, he wrote Illiberal Education. In 1995, The End of Racism. And in 2002, What's So Great About America? Great debate followed the publication of The Enemy at Home in 2006. His recent book, What's So Great About Christianity, follows several books written by prominent atheists denouncing theism and Christianity in particular. Christopher Hitchens was born in England and is now a U.S. citizen, having lived here for more than 25 years. Mr. Hitchens is an author, journalist, and literary critic. His education began early under the tutelage of Miss Watts in Dartmoor and continued with a degree in philosophy, politics, and economics. He lives in Washington, D.C. and is a popular writer and speaker and talk show guest. In 2009, he was listed by Forbes as one of the 25 most influential liberals in U.S. media. But in the same article, it was noted that he probably would prefer not to be called a liberal, but instead a radical. An admirer of George Orwell, Thomas Paine, and Thomas Jefferson, he has offered memorable critiques of Jerry Falwell, Mother Teresa, and Bill and Hillary Clinton. He describes himself as a believer in the Enlightenment values of secularism, humanism, and reason. Mr. Hitchens also has written numerous articles and books, among them Hostage to History, Cyprus from the Ottomans to Kissinger, Blood, Class, and Nostalgia, Anglo-American Ironies, The Missionary Position, Mother Teresa in Theory and Practice, No One Left to Lie To, The Values of the Worst Family, and his most recent book, God Is Not Great, How Religion Poisons Everything. This debate tonight will go like this so that you know what to expect. Mr. D'Souza will begin the debate with a 15-minute opening statement followed by Mr. Hitchens doing the same. Then each of them will have a 5-minute period for rebuttal. Then there will be a 15-minute head-to-head sessions that will begin with Mr. Hitchens. After that, the audience will have 40 minutes to ask questions of our two guests. There are two microphones at the front, and you'll be asked to come down to the microphones to ask very brief questions that exercise the best manners that your mama taught you down here in the South. And you can ask the question to either of our guests. They will have an opportunity to answer, and then the other will have an opportunity to respond as well to that answer. We have timekeepers on the front, and their indication of the time will be final, and we're ready to begin.
Thank you, Dr. Bishop. That was a very gracious introduction. In fact, I think I might have been the only guy sitting up here going, more, more, more. I am very pleased and honored to be here. I must say that I love the South, and I mean that in more ways than one. My wife is from Louisiana, and her name is Dixie. We now live in San Diego, and many people don't think that's a real name. But I'm delighted to be here in Mississippi, delighted to be crossing swords again with Christopher Hitchens and addressing the topic of what is so great about God. Now, here in the Bible Belt, you might feel that this is the Christian capital, you might say, of the world. But actually, it is not so. If you want a capital for Christianity in the world, you're probably better to look at Seoul, South Korea. Or you're probably better to look at a village in Nigeria, or a favela in Brazil. The point I want to make here, and it's actually a very encouraging point for those of us who are religious believers, is that religion in general, but specifically Christianity, is spreading rapidly throughout the world. In fact, many people think Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world, but it's not true. Islam is the second fastest growing. The fastest growing is Christianity. Islam spreads mainly through reproduction, Muslims having big families. But Christianity spreads through reproduction and conversion. Now, this is a big surprise because just a couple of decades ago, when I was in college, we learned that the world is becoming inevitably more secular. There's a kind of inexorable tide away from belief in God and toward what the philosopher Nietzsche called the death of God, a completely secular